When you are, Candace. Good morning, everyone. We will call the meeting to order at 9:01 a.m. this morning. In the true spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge all those who call this land home now and for thousands of years in the past. May we respect each other and find understanding together and recognize the benefits that this land provides to all of us. Before you, you have a proposed agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, any errors, any issues arising from the proposed agenda? If not, John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
John has moved to adopt the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. From that agenda, we have a couple of time commitments today. We have our 9:30 delegation with benchmark assessments, and then at 10 o'clock we have 4 public hearings scheduled. Moving down, adoption of the minutes. Item C1, we have the County Council meeting minutes of March 5th, 2026. Are there any errors, omissions, any issues arising from the minutes? Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the adoption of the council meeting minutes of March 5th, 2026.
Thank you, Mark. Mark has moved to adopt the County Council meeting minutes of March 5th, 2026 as presented. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Move down, item D, subdivision applications. We have 4 subdivision applications before us today. We'll start at D1, subdivision application 2026-0-016.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Chair and Council. As mentioned, we have 4 subdivision applications before you, Council acting as the subdivision authority. So the first subdivision application is 2026-0-016. It is for Plan 4434JK, Block B, and it's within the Southwest Quarter 19-9-20 west of the 4th and part of Northwest Quarter 19-9-20 west of the 4th. So in terms of its location, I'll just scroll down here. So it's directly 2.5 miles northwest of the town of Coaldale and 1.5 miles southwest of 8 Mile Lake. This is a boundary reconfiguration. So the proposal is to subdivide a 33.26 acre title and create a 7.8 acre country residential lot and consolidate the remainder 25 acres of that title to the parcel to the north, which is 157 acres. So in total, you end up with the 2 titles. There's no increase in titles with this application. And with that, I will pass it on to Steve for the planning recommendations.
Hey, good morning, everyone. So this application in front of you, as describes, it is a reconfiguration between 2 titles. So actually, maybe if Caitlin would just go down a little bit, I just kind of did a little colored diagram there for you there. So actually what it is on that south smaller parcel is just reducing the size of that, and then that back east end, that portion is going to be consolidated to the adjacent title to the north. So it is a reconfiguration between the 2. There's no increase in titles. As mentioned, that the dwelling side there, that parent 33.26 acre title there on the south side, it is undeveloped agricultural land, and it will be amalgamated to the portion, that separate title on the north side there, resulting in a large agricultural title that's 183.35 acres in size. So with that, during the review and circulation of the application, there are no provincial interests that need consideration, such as historical resources or abandoned gas wells. That kind of very rear east portion is flagged by the province from Alberta Transportation as part of that future Canamix freeway area to go along the backside there. So it was part of the process. The application was referred to Alberta Transportation and Economic Corridors. They have no concerns with the and no objections to the application as presented. And overall as well. There was no other objections or concerns received with the application. So it does meet the subdivision criteria as a reconfiguration. No additional titles are created here. And through the subdivision consolidation process, that boundary will be adjusted between the two and the parcel size is adjusted accordingly. Since the package came out to you, we have heard back from a couple that didn't originally have their comments in, and that was Fortis SMRD as well. They have no concerns or objections to the proposal. So on that basis, the recommendation in front of you is to approve the application as applied for, and that would be with the conditions, the taxes are paid up to date, a development agreement entered into if the county requires it, that consolidation by plan happen, and that at the time it did say any easements, but to this date here, none of the utility companies require anything. So on those suggested conditions, the recommendation is to approve.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Kalen. I would open up to council for any questions or any discussion. John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not 100% certain that this actually matters to this application. Frankly, I'm pretty certain that it doesn't. But the Canamax corridor, the proposed Canamax corridor, when it goes through on the eastern portion, will it fragment that agricultural portion that sort of sticks out onto the side?
On
Do we know
to the
Canamax
east there,
will be
right
to-
there, where Kalen's showing?
Yeah, that parcel there.
Yeah, if that comes to fruition, that area at the back there and all along the quarter line, a strip through there, the transportation will be purchase that, so
Right,
it
yeah,
would
so it's
so it
going-
disappear.
It's
yeah.
going on the east boundary of that, of the quarter line is where the proposal is
Yes,
then?
yeah.
Okay, all right, super. I don't have any other questions, but if you don't mind, indulge me, I would like to move that subdivision application 2026-0-016 be approved subject to the conditions as outlined in the draft resolution.
Thank you, John. John has moved the recommendation, the subdivision application 2026-0-016 be approved subject to the conditions as outlined in the draft resolution. Are there any other questions? Any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Subdivision application item number 2. Subdivision application 2026-0-028.
Thank you. So subdivision application 2026-0-028, it is within the northwest quarter and southwest quarter of 14 or 231020 west of the 4th. In terms of its location, scroll a couple more pages here. So it is located 5.5 miles north of the town of Coaldale between Highway 845 and the Northeast Reservoir. It's 1.5 miles south of the Old Man River. This again is a title reconfiguration. So the proposal is to subdivide a 4.6 acre vacant land title from a 32 acre title and consolidate it to the adjacent agricultural title, which is 141 acres. So just taking this piece and consolidating it to the north. And with that, I will pass it on to Steve for the planning recommendations.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this application is similar to the last one. It is a reconfiguration. The applicant there, that you can see a little bit maybe under the hatch marks there, but that area is just to the west of the yard, west of the trees between the road to the highway. It's farmed as a contiguous unit to the land to the north there. The SMRID is allowing him to keep and transfer his irrigation so he doesn't lose it on that piece that's going over to the other title. So the applicant desires just to do a boundary adjustment there and keep that agricultural piece with the other agricultural piece that's farmed together and remove it from the acreage title there on the south side. That acreage was created there, as you can see, as a fragmented cutoff parcel many years back there due to the canal. So that's a 4.6 acre land area. He wants to consolidate with the other agricultural piece. which enlarged that piece, which is also a bit fragmented because of the canal, to 145.46 acres. It's just around the 140 mark at the moment. So it is a subdivision consolidation. It won't be a standalone title created, similar to the last one. So it's just moving that currently quarter section line between the two and coming down, wrapping it around there, of that agricultural cultivated piece. So with this application, during the referral and circulation out, there is an abandoned gas well located on the north agricultural piece, that southwest 231020. It is close to the, kind of that northeast area, close to the canal. So it's not unaffected by the subdivision, won't be impacted at all. The application as well, it's identified in the area of potential historical resources. However, we did hear back from the province. They have no concern with what they're doing and don't require anything from them, don't have to apply for an approval or anything. So they waive that requirement. It is on Highway 45, as part of the application with this, Alberta Transportation did request a service road be provided by caveat on title, so they don't actually have to provide the land at this point and construct a service road. But on that south piece, from there they're subdividing down to the canal, they're asking to run by caveat a 30-meter service road to be registered on title to protect that for the future. And if the land ever changes hands, that the future landowners know that that could be a possibility. If they were to do something else in the future, that then at that point they'd have to provide a service road. So that was the only major concern, other than Fortis did request, since the package came out to you, that there is they have some of their utilities lines running in that area across the proposal, and they have requested an easement for that electrical line. So on that basis, it does meet the policies for reconfiguration, realignment. It's not a standalone title created. The recommendation is to approve based on the conditions that taxers paid up to date. A development agreement be entered into, which county or likely would want this just to outline the deferment of any future service road, and that if that was required, they'd be responsible at that time. The survey with the consolidation. The fourth condition would be addressing Alberta Transportation, that they have to provide that caveat for the service road to register on title. And the fourth is the easement that would address Fortis's concerns.
Thank you, Steve. I'd open up to council for any questions, any discussion you might have. Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The existing access may remain on a temporary basis, it states. What would be a trigger to nullify that access and that they would have to develop?
Councillor Van Essen, through to the chair. Usually in a situation like that, it's one of two things. One is that the long-term plans maybe for that highway in that area, and where they're looking at an access management strategy and how much development activity subdivisions in the area. And then it's usually more particular to a parcel of land like this itself. Let's say if the owner was to come back for that piece out there, he applied to the county, wanted to rezone it to Goop Country Residential and put in 3 lots or something like that. At that point, then it would be a trigger that transportation say, okay, we're not allowing 3 more accesses right there onto the highway. You have to have 1 point and go onto a service road. So it's usually situations like that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move that subdivision application 2026-0-028 be approved subject to the condition as outlined in the draft resolution.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin has moved the recommendation that subdivision application 2026-0-028 be approved subject to the conditions as outlined in the draft resolution. Is there any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Moving down. subdivision application 3 for today, 2026-0-010.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So subdivision application 2026-0-010 is for the Luco property on Plan 2411720, Block 1, Lot 3. So this application is located directly adjacent to the airport to the west. Sorry, I lost my page. A half mile south of Old Man River, and it is south of the City of Lethbridge boundary. And so the proposal for the application is to subdivide a vacant portion of their existing acreage and reconsolidate it back into the larger title. The primary purpose is to facilitate a public utility installation of a telecommunication tower. So it's to subdivide at 0.76 acres, which is the small sliver off of the existing country residential parcel, and consolidate it into the parcel to the west, which is 99 acres. With that, I will pass on to Steve for the planning recommendations.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, so this application as well is in a sense, a reconfiguration in that this parcel, this sliver here, as shown in the diagram, that is intended to accommodate a long-term lease with a broadcast antenna company that it is going to be amalgamated, consolidated over to the applicant's west title, so it's not a standalone title. The reason is twofold for that. One is that as the 0.76 acres on its own, as a standalone title, although that could accommodate a utility structure just fine, in the future, let's say after that 25-year lease disappears, if that antenna disappeared and that type of utility wasn't put back there, then you'd have a parcel on its own sitting there at that size. As well, it helps the applicant himself. His son lives in that smaller parcel, and he's on AISH, and the income, I guess, from the lease, if it was on his son's parcel, would affect his AISH payments, and they would be cut. So he's putting it over to his so that it doesn't affect his son on that regard as well. But that's more of a personal thing, but from a land use thing, it's just that smaller sliver of parcel doesn't end up being sitting there on its own. So the actual sliver parcel, I put it in the report, there's for a little bit of history, that actually is an area going over a former long abandoned rail line. That's where the Crow's Nest, Medicine Hat, Canadian Pacific Rail Line used to cut through there down to the river valley. And that area there south where they're showing is actually part of where the tracks used to be. So this area is undeveloped, always has been. It's just part of their yard there south of the trees. There's no improvements or anything in that area. And as mentioned, the purpose is to accommodate a broadcast antenna system for ExploreNet that's going in there. So the site itself, it doesn't require servicing or anything like that. The land is in an area that's in the proximity of the airport. So part of the referrals, both NAV Canada and Transport Canada, have to be contacted. Their initial comments they sent usually takes a while to get more formal comments back from them. So they just had the generic response at the front here. We haven't received anything else yet. But basically, their comments have to do with the height and in looking at the flight paths to the airport and that sort of a thing, which the broadcast doesn't affect the subdivision itself, but when it comes time to develop the broadcast antenna at that stage, those applicants will have to deal with that and meet all of those criteria. This land as well, it is in the IDP area with the City of Lethbridge, so it's a part of your IDP, a mandatory referral to the City of Lethbridge. City of Lethbridge did respond, and they have no objections or concern to the proposal as presented. As well, this is area identified the province as potentially containing historic resources, but we have heard back from them on this one as well, and they have no concerns with the proposal, and they don't require anything or the applicant to apply for historical resource approval on it. So with that, with the intent of it being consolidated to the adjacent, we have two contiguous parcels there. As a reconfiguration between the two, taking off the one title, adding it to the other, and not being standalone title. The recommendation in front of you is to approve as presented. The recommended conditions on this one are that the taxes are paid up to date, and development agreement entered into if the county does require that. The final plan of survey is entered into, and that would include that the consolidation occurs. As part of the referral, EcoGas did ask the applicants, they do have a gas line that runs through the yard in that area. No previous easement was registered, and they're not sure of the exact location of the gas line. So they did ask that the applicant do a line locate to confirm the location, and if it does cross the property line, or as they think it does, between the two, that then they would have an easement registered to protect that. And then the sixth is that any NAV Canada, Transport Canada requirements would be met. So with those 6 conditions as recommended, the recommendation is to approve.
Thank you, Steve. I'd open up to council. Go ahead, Lauren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move that subdivision application 2026-0-010 be approved with conditions.
Thank you, Lauren. Is there any discussion? Any questions? Lauren has moved the recommendation that subdivision application 2026-0-010 be approved subject to the conditions as outlined in the draft resolution. Any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And our final subdivision for today, subdivision application 2026-0-005. Caitlin?
Thank you, Council. So subdivision application 2026-0-005. This is the RME Ventures Group development in the Chinook Industrial Park, specifically located in Plan 111-3171, Block 1, Lot 5. So it is situated east of 43rd Street, directly adjacent to the City of Lethbridge boundary. And so this is the final phase of the Chinook Industrial Park, considered phase 3. It is the proposal for the 83-acre title to be subdivided into 17 industrial lots, ranging in size from 2 acres to 20 acres. One lot will be a public utility lot for stormwater management, which will be 13 acres, and the public roadways, which will be 5.5 acres in total. And so with that, I will pass it on to Steve for recommendations.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, so this application, as described, is, I guess we could describe as the final phase heading north here as part of that Chinook industrial park area, part of the Chinook area structure plan. So as you can see from the diagram on the screen there, the layout of the subdivision with the 15 those smaller lots of the 2-acre size there, and there is the one larger 20.37 acre lot that the developer applicant themselves, RME, is looking to retain for their own business. So in accordance with the area structure plan for this area, the lots will be serviced by city treated water, and private on-site systems or a holding tank for sewage will be used. These are all low volume types of businesses that will be going in there. As part of the approval and the conditions on that, the county will need to address the payment of any levies and fees for the infrastructure and any City of Lethbridge levies applicable, and that's addressed through both the conditions of approval that will be presented to you, as well as through the subsequent development agreement that the county enters into with the applicant. Similar to the last phase to the south, all the shallow utilities, gas, electrical, telecommunication can be provided to the site, and the applicant will be responsible for those for subdivision. The applicant has provided a stormwater management plan, which they've already provided to the county. They've also been working with the SMRID And if you recall from earlier, at the rezoning stage, with some concerns there with the pond next to the canal. That's all been addressed, and the SMRAD has been satisfied with the final plan that they've done. And we've, on the subdivision itself, received updated comments from SMRAD as well, so the applicants can move forward with them on that. So with this application, there are no environmental concerns identified or abandoned gas wells, historical resources, those types of things are from the provincial level. The engineering work has been completed. Their engineers by ISL Engineering, who also worked on the updates to the area structure plan and the stormwater plan for the applicants. In the past, we had a phase 1 ESA and a geotechnical investigation done that in order to support the application for the applicants to complete it here. So the proposal itself, all the lot sizes meet the criteria of the land use bylaw. It is zoned as rural general industrial. As well, the proposal conforms to the intermunicipal development plan with the city of Lethbridge and to the subsequent adopted area structure plan, which was a requirement of the IDP that had to be done before proceeding. So as part of the referral here, the city was circulated. They have no objections to the proposals on the provision that all their servicing matters and fees applicable to the city are addressed through the approval. So, so with that, as part of this application, one of the things that will have to be addressed is there is, from when the previous phases started at the south and moved north, each portion paid the municipal reserve. So on this last piece that was left, there was a deferred reserve caveat that was placed on title. So with this subdivision now, the applicants were required to pay their portion on their land of the municipal reserve owing on 83.89 acres. And then once that payment's made as part of the finalization process, that caveat would be discharged off title. And this land here, then it's all paid in full. So the market value that came in for this area here as provided to us was at $60,000 per acre. So they have to pay that $60,000, the 10% on that 83.89 acres to the county, which the applicant is aware of. So that'd be one of the conditions on the approval. As well, the other conditions would be that the taxes are paid up to date. The second there with the development agreement entered into, which will address all the servicing matters regards to the roads, drainage servicing, the storm pond, the servicing fees, etc., would be addressed through that comprehensive agreement that the county would be entering into with them. The plan of survey to match the final approval. The applicants also have to contribute to an endeavor to assist for their portion of the recovery costs for the original Chinook area structure plan, which the applicants are aware of. As well, any payment of the fees and the levies to the city of Lethbridge, that regards to the 43rd Street levy and the water agreement connection fee that the applicants are responsible for, that they're also aware of. In concurrently with the subdivision plan, we'll have to register a couple of easements, both a drainage easement to address there's a drainage swale near the east boundary, as well as a utility easement as well that runs along the lot frontages, and there's one easement to that on the west perimeter of that PUL that will be registered along with the subdivision. The applicants will also have to meet the final approval plan, any Alberta Transportation Economic Corridor requirements. And that's just due to the fact that when the project started as a Chinook ASP, moving from the south, and we're now doing the last leg as we head to the north, that last piece. But the area at the start, when the area structure plan was done, Alberta Transportation had commented there was a TIA done, and there was some recommendations in that TIA there regards to down at 43rd Street and and Highway 3 that will have to be addressed through the applicant and to finalize those with Alberta Transportation. And then the final condition, number 9, is that there is an existing, as you can see in the TELUS buried fiber optic cable that runs through there, and they'll have to relocate that as it cuts through there. They're going to locate it to the south there through the utility easements along the road, which they're aware of, and they have been in contact with TELUS to do that. So that's just captured as well. So on that basis, the application does conform to the bylaw. Your real general industrial plan and the area structure plan was done for the area. With no objections or concerns received on it, the recommendation is to approve as presented with the payment of that municipal reserve and the 9 listed conditions there and the resolution presented to you.
Thank you, Steve. I'd open up to council for any questions or discussion. Go ahead, Lauren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I have a few questions. So is lot 1 up on the far corner, is that where the truck fill station is, or the water fill station?
Yes.
Yep.
And that's on a separate title owned by the county, correct?
Yeah, that was from 2000. Yes, sir,
Okay.
yeah.
And the proposed road number 2 I see there, does that line up with 18th then? Or does that line up with the city going the other way? Like to gain access to 43rd?
So Councillor Hickey, are you referring to this proposed road directly
Yes.
right there? Yes, so that intersects right off 43rd, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
so here you can see it right here, the City of Lethbridge intersection, it does line up.
Okay. And what was the last one? I'm nothing other than the fact I would like to move subdivision application 2026-0-005 with the conditions as outlined.
Thank you, Lauren. Are there any further questions? I just had one question. Lot 2, Block 4 in the north, would that take access off the Range Road then?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chair, that will access directly off the Range Road to the north.
Thank you. Lauren has moved the recommendation that subdivision application 2026-0-005 be approved subject to the conditions as outlined in the draft resolution. Is there any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you, Kaylin. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
We can move in our agendas to our 9:30 a.m. delegation. We have Lance and Logan Wehlage joining us from Benchmark Assessment Consultants. And whenever you're ready, I'll let you lead off, Haley. Thank you. Thank you, Candace.
Thank you, Reeve Campbell. Good morning, Council. Just wanted to do an introduction of Benchmark Assessments Consultants, who are here to do a presentation on the 2025 assessments for the 2026 tax year. I will pass it over to Lance Wehlage, and he can do a more formal introduction as part of the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'll just, before we get into the presentation, just briefly introduce ourselves and in our company, and then we'll just dive in. So my name is Lance Wehlage, and with me today is Logan Wehlage. We are owners of Benchmark Assessment Consultants. We currently prepare the assessments for 48 municipalities in southern Alberta, and we've been doing so for over 30 years. The company's been in place. We appreciate the opportunity for having us come here. The intent of the presentation is just to inform council of the year-over-year changes to the assessment role. And so just to give council a bit of an overview of the presentation today, we're going to start with touching on some key assessment dates. Then we'll move into the market changes, specifically on the non-regulated property in the assessments, which is specifically the residential and the non-residential property assessments. We do extract what we would call assessment growth out of the market change, so we'll address the assessment growth separately within the market change. And then we'll wrap up the presentation by showing council how the median single-family dwelling assessments have changed over the last decade. And then we'll do some municipal comparisons for council just to show where Lethbridge County fits in with other municipal districts in southern Alberta. So just a couple key dates for council to keep in mind. So the assessments for the 2026 tax year are based on market value, and they're based as of July 1st of 2025. Last year's assessments were based a year prior, July 1st, 2024. So we're looking at the market change from July 1st, 2024 to July 1st, 2025. So by the time folks get their assessment and tax notices, the value will be reflective of a market that was many months prior to. And with that, we assess every property based on the physical condition date of December 31st of the prior year. So the example that I always like to use is that if somebody builds a detached garage in November and it's complete in November, even though it wasn't there as of July 1st, the valuation date, we would still assess it, but we would assess it based on the market conditions July 1st. So 2 dates there to keep in mind. So moving over to market change, when we reference market change, we're referencing the difference in the market conditions from the previous valuation date of July 1st, 2024 to the current valuation date of July 1st, 2025. So as market conditions change from year to year, the assessments will change accordingly. So if market values of property is going up, the assessments will follow. If they're going down, the assessments will go down. So we'll touch on the residential assessment base first. So overall, year over year, the assessment change specific to market value, market condition change for residential properties is 25.2%. So looking at the graph here, how you read this, on the left-hand side, you'll see the number of individual residential accounts, and we've grouped on the bottom in percent change ranges. So if I could get council to focus on the middle 2 bars there, how you would read that is 846 accounts are going to be experiencing between a 20 and 25% year-over-year market change. 1,026 accounts are going to be experiencing between 25 and 30% change. So the majority of residential property in the county is going to be experiencing between a 20 and 30% year-over-year change. And these are for properties that have not had any changes to their physical characteristics. So the properties remain the same. We would anticipate that they would have roughly a 25% year-over-year change. You'll notice that there is a grouping of property that is less than 20% year-over-year change. One of the dynamics that has started to come through in the last number of years, not specifically to Lethbridge County, but in other counties as well and other municipalities, is that underlying land values, vacant residential land values, they haven't been increasing to the extent that improved property values have been going. So the majority of the impact is contained on the improvement side of things. So if you have a property that has a higher proportionate share in land value, say it's a 3-acre site where the improvement is very old, it's very small, very depreciated, the majority of the value may be in the land. And so when you're looking at a year-over-year change where the land values may be going up slightly, but the improved values is going up significantly higher, these type of properties will see a less year-over-year change. And the opposite is true for the other side. For properties that are going up more than 30%, these would be properties that have a higher proportionate share in the improvement value. So brand new properties that are very big, triple garages, basement finish, high quality of construction. These type of properties will be going up above the typical because the proportionate share of the assessment is contained in the improvements. I always like to show councils this chart here. What we've done is we've broken down the market change by division. So divisions 1 through 7, you can see that if we look to the right of the chart, each division is going up relatively similar or consistent to the overall of 25.2%. So as we kind of go down the chart, Division 1, 23%, Division 2, 25%, Division 3, 23, 24, 27, 26, 28. They're all within a reasonable range of the overall, and I want to point this out to council just so that they know that it's not like one division is going up 60% and then another division is going down 10%. There is a consistency throughout the county, although some variance. Shifting over to the non-residential side is not experiencing as significant year-over-year change on the market value side of things. Overall, the non-residential assessments are going up 4.9%. And you can see if we can center into the middle of the graph, or middle of the bar graph, you'll see that typically non-residential property owners are going up between 3 and 4.5%. So we do have some larger assessments that are pulling up the overall totals, but when we're looking at individual accounts, property owners are typically going up 3% to 4.5% in that range. Now, how this looks by division, very similar to the residential. Each division is experiencing relatively consistent changes, year-over-year changes to the overall of 4.9%. Division 1, 4.5, Division 2, 7.7, Division 3, 4, Division 4, 4, 5%, 7.5%, 4.9%. Now shifting over to the assessment growth. So we would define assessment growth as anything new to the assessment base that hasn't been previously assessed. So this would be your new construction, additions, renovations, new parcels created through subdivision. On the residential side, you'll see as a percentage of the previous year assessment base, residential growth is up 2.6%. So that equates to about almost about 37 million in residential growth. On the non-residential side, significantly higher. The majority of this growth comes from the building and structure assessment from McCain's, but it's up 22.5% from the previous assessment base, just under 144 million. So overall, the total growth in 1 year, 8.8%, just over 180 million. Looking specifically at the residential growth by division, overall the residential growth is pretty consistent by division. We'll note that Division 2 has had a slightly higher residential growth. This is coming from the Lakeside Colony. They've put in four threeplexes, which are in progressive stage of construction. So that's bumping the numbers up in Division 2. But overall, relatively consistent growth throughout the divisions. Again, overall on the residential side, just under 37 million. On the non-residential side, as I mentioned, Division 2, this is the McCain's building and structure addition. And that's making up the majority of the growth in Division 2, and actually the majority of the growth in the county as well. So overall, 143, just over 143 million in growth, and 124 of that is coming from Division 2. And I believe 122 million of that is from the McCain's, and this is the market value side. So this is just the building and structure. This doesn't reference the machinery and equipment that's also assessed within the facility. So this is just the building and structure. So turning to the comparison, the year-over-year comparison of the median single-family dwelling assessments in Lethbridge County, as you can see. In 2026, the median assessment now is 556,880. In the last number of years, ever since COVID, and this isn't just specific to Lethbridge County, but all over southern Alberta, there's been a significant increase in market value and a significant increase in assessments year over year. So this year is a significant increase from prior years, but the key takeaway here is that property values have been going up, specifically in the last 5 years, and we continue to see that year over year. So comparisons of the median single-family dwelling assessment in Lethbridge County to other municipal districts in southern Alberta, you can see that Lethbridge County is currently the highest at 556,880. Very close to it is the MD of Willow Creek. More towards the center is Carson County and the MD of Pincher Creek. They're in the low 460 range. And then on the bottom end of the ranges, County of 40 Mile and County of Newell at nearly 294,000 and 394,000 respectively. How other municipal districts are faring by way of a year-over-year change to their assessment base, we look at the median single-family dwelling comparison. So the last year's single-family dwelling assessment in these municipalities to this year's median single-family dwelling assessment. You can see that Lethbridge County is on the high side there at 24.9%, followed closely by the County of 40 Mile at 19.3%. The typical year-over-year change for the median single-family dwelling would be represented in places like Carson County, County of Warner, at roughly just under 11%. And then on the bottom end, MD of Ranchland and Vulcan County at mid to high single digits at 5.3 and 7.7% respectively. And that concludes a brief update to Council on the year-over-year changes to the assessment base, and we welcome any questions that Council has.
Thank you very much, Lance. I'd open up to Council for any questions. Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I was just wondering if you could go back to the 25%, the first one you talked about.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that one. Could you dive into that just a little deeper? I'm not quite sure I follow how you, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I can just maybe re-explain the graph. So each of these are individual residential accounts, and what we've done here is we've grouped all of the residential accounts by a percent change range. So centering your attention into the middle of the chart here, you'll see two bar graphs in the middle. One that's labeled 846. So that would be 846 individual residential assessments or accounts. And these 846 accounts are going up between 20 and 25%. So there'll be a range of all 846. Some might be going up 21, 22, 23, but they're all within that 20 to 25% year-over-year change range. And the same would hold true for all of the bar graphs on the chart. So on the right there, 1,026 individual accounts would be going up between 25 to 30% year-over-year change.
Good, Lauren.
That's good, thanks.
Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we see a large number there. My question is, how do you account for a lapse in previous assessment so it doesn't show a drastic increase? Are these just going off of previous Lethbridge County assessment numbers, or is this was there a different way to quantify historical numbers?
Yeah, so each assessment is prepared independently of the previous year. So how we do it is we use 3 years of sales for residential properties. So 1 year will fall off and another year will come on. And we use 3 years of sales prior to the valuation of July 1st, 2025 for the preparation of assessments for 2026. So it's a different set of data, albeit 2 of the years would have been used last year. But it is prepared independently of the previous year's assessments. So there's no restrictive cap or there's no floor to the year-over-year change. It's prepared independently, and then this is just to give a comparison of how that changed from the previous year.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, guys. Sure appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
That paints an amazing picture. I think to have that level of detail and to break it down in that way, I very much appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. It is 9:51, and we do have our 4 public hearings today. So why don't we take a 10-minute recess, and we will reconvene at 10 a.m. To begin. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order at 10 o'clock this morning. Move down in our agenda to item F, public hearings. We have 4 public hearings scheduled for today. Item 1, bylaw number 25028, 2, bylaw 26005, 3, bylaw 26-006, and item 4, bylaw 26-008. With that, I would ask that we recess our public meeting. We are here today to hold the public hearing for bylaw 25-028, public hearing for amendment to the land use bylaw to amend Part 8 subdivision criteria with minor complementary text amendments to Part 3 land use districts. This public hearing is being held pursuant to the Municipal Government Act as amended. This public hearing is being live streamed via the county's YouTube page. I would ask for a motion to open the public hearing for bylaw 25-028. Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move that we move to a public hearing for bylaw 25-028.
John has moved to open the public hearing for bylaw 25-028. Is there any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Public hearing for bylaw 25-028 is now officially open. I'll now ask for a review of the nature of the hearing and an overview of what is being proposed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Council. Before you today is bylaw number 25-028, and it is an amendment to the land use bylaw to amend Part 8, the subdivision criteria, with minor complementary text amendments to Part 3 of the land use districts. You might recall back in December 2025, we did pass the first reading, and it was requested by council that we hold a workshop to fully understand these change in rules of the land use bylaw. So before you today is a amended version of the bylaw with the updates that we made during that workshop that best suited the county at the during our discussion. So with that, I'll pass on to Steve to highlight the changes that have been made since the first reading and an overview of the amendments to the land use bylaw.
Thank you, Caleb.
Mr. Chair, Council, so the public hearing for you today is to deal with the proposed amendments to the subdivision criteria bylaw, which is on Part 8 in the bylaw, which are intended to update policies and enable potential subdivision of a legacy yard site from a title of 80 acres, provided certain criteria are met. Additionally, amendments are proposed to clarify required parcel sizes, revise the maximum number of parcels that may be created per quarter section, and remove the specific line feeding operation subdivision criteria policies as well. The purpose of this is that the proposed changes would enable the subdivision authority more discretion in making decisions on individual applications. The updates will align with the county's commitment to be responsive to landowner situations while fulfilling its obligations with respect to the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan, and as well as the county's municipal development plan and other planning documents as well. So the as was mentioned after first reading was given in December there, council asked for a subsequent workshop to kind of review holistically all the subdivision policies, gather some input from council, which was done in February. So subsequent to that, the amendments presented to you today are to address that. So as mentioned, the policies as proposed, as the amendments to the bylaw will include that provision of the legacy yard site. You will find there on page based on council's direction from that February 5th review, subsequent to first reading, include revising the time period of what constitutes a legacy yard site, changed from 25 to 50 years, and placing that in the criteria rather than the definition, which gives the subdivision authority the flexibility to respond to individual conditions and applications. And as well, adding a policy for subsection 2F, that there will be no further subdivision or resplit, so to speak, of a legacy yard site would be allowed. So you would end up with, in a sense, 6 subdivision of course options there. Yeah. So those are some of the amendments and subsequent to council's input after that February 5th meeting. So some of the other proposed amendments to the subdivision policies included that just clarifying the minimum parcel size and for consistency in the language of the 2 acres, what defines a developable area of land. Similarity, the individual land use districts in Part D, where parcel sizes are contained, will be similar updated, so everything is cohesive lines. Part of the amendments include simplifying the maximum parcel size, which is currently a flexible size of 3 to 10 acres based on the improvements. Clarify that as well. The other major change is to remove a policy that prohibits a CFO from being subdivided on title less than 80 acres, since the county no longer deals or permits confined feeding operations. The NRCB looks at the operation and the ability to hold 6 months of storage on site in regards to parcel size and such. Doesn't consider the county subdivision policies, and we don't have a role in that. So that part will be amended to just align with your red agricultural parcel policies. So with those proposed amendments, the main amendments to Part 8, the amending bylaw has been circulated out, both internally and externally, and advertised. There have been no objections or concerns received on the proposed amendments. The notice of the public hearing was advertised in the March 17th and 24th editions of the Sunny South News, and the county's website and social media accounts as well. So that is a summary of the main amendments for council. If there's any questions on clarifying any of that, but
Does not appear to be. Thank you, Steve. This is council's opportunity to receive input from the public. Those making presentations are asked to state their name and review their points. We ask that you refrain from asking questions to council. The intention of the public hearing is not to debate or defend the contents of the bylaw or the position which individual councillors may have on the bylaw. Questions asked of a councillor by a presenter may be ruled out of order. Presentations to council will start with the applicant who's made a submission, followed by any other persons wishing to comment on the proposal. Please keep your comments to the point. After each speaker, members of council will be permitted to ask questions of the presenter to clarify any details. No debating or questions from the floor will be allowed. Each speaker will be allotted up to 10 minutes. Additional time may be granted at the discretion of council. This time, I would ask if there's anyone wishing to speak to the proposed bylaw. I would ask again if there's anyone wishing to speak to the proposed bylaw. And for a third and final time, I would ask if there's anyone wishing to speak to the proposed bylaw. Seeing none, I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing. Mark?
Mr. Chair, I move to close the public hearing.
Mark has moved to close the public hearing for bylaw 25-028. Is there any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We now resume our public meeting. And before you, you do have a recommendation for second and third reading. I'd open up to council for any questions or discussion you might have at this time. Got all three of you, so go ahead and start that.
I was going to move that bylaw 25-028 be read a second time as amended.
Is there any further discussion? Any questions? Go ahead, Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to just take this moment that we as council did comprehensively go through this, challenged any points that we thought were relevant, and have a fuller understanding than a short presentation of what is on it, and that it was not done flippantly or on a whim. So also support it. Thanks.
Thanks, Eric. Any other questions or discussion on that? Mark has moved that bylaw number 25-028 be read for a second time. No further discussion. I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And third reading. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd move that bylaw 25-028 be read a third time as amended.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin has moved that bylaw 25-028 be read for a third time. Correct. Yeah, I don't believe I said that last time, though. It was as amended. Sorry, Candace. Is there any discussion? I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Moving down in our agendas, bylaw 26-005. We're here today to hold the public hearing for bylaw 26-005, amendment to the municipal development plan to amend Part 4 plan policies relating to large-scale commercial solar collection. I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing. Lauren?
I would make a motion to open the public hearing for bylaw 26-005.
Thank you, Lauren. Lauren has made the motion to open public hearing for bylaw 26-005. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Public hearing is being held pursuant to the Municipal Government Act as amended. The public hearing is being live streamed via the county's YouTube page. Public hearing for bylaw 26-005 is now officially open. I'll now ask for a review of the nature of the hearing and overview of what is being proposed. Kaylin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Council. So bylaw 26-005 is an amendment to our municipal development plan to amend Part 4, the plan policies relating specifically to large-scale commercial collection facilities. So this is the provision in which the bylaw states that all solar energy commercial projects must be rezoned to a direct control district. So currently in the county, we have 3 direct control bylaws for a solar energy large commercial project. It's bylaw 18029, 19031, and 19032. The combined area of these 3 projects is 410 acres. So while this process ensures council oversight for every project, it is actually very cumbersome to administer from an administration perspective as well as a proponent and applicant perspective. Solar commercial projects are very similar from one to another, and so the same rules should apply across each application. Direct controls are really meant for the purpose of a specific unique development, which solar energy large-scale commercials are not unique from one to the next. So we did conduct a cross-jurisdictional scan to identify municipal best practices about how large-scale solar projects are being managed in a land use bylaw perspective. There's very much a range in approaches depending on the state of the municipality. Some are using their rural agricultural districts and having solar energy as a use, a discretionary use, so it would only have to go through the development permit processing. Others are creating specific dedicated solar districts or overlay zones, and others are regulating similarly through direct controls. So the proposed text amendments before you on the municipal development plan are to find a middle ground on what would be effective and efficient, but also provide reasonable oversight for large-scale solar projects. So the recommendation is to redirect rezoning decisions to a solar energy commercial overlay district, which would be established in our land use bylaw, and the application of that overlay would be a decision before council for any new application. This would reduce the burden of the applicant and administration to continually rewriting direct controls for every project, rather they be applying for a conventional zone to be added to their parcel. And then there's a few other provisions in our municipal development plan that are outside of the county jurisdiction, and this is specifically related to the Alberta Utilities Commission approval sequences and setbacks to the airport. As under the Municipal Government Act, Section 619, approval granted by AUC prevails over any municipal statutory plan. So just correcting our municipal development plan to align with that. The Solar Energy Overlay District will be considered in Bylaw 26-006. But otherwise, this application was circulated to all Lethbridge County's intermunicipal development municipalities, which are 11 of them, and we received response from 3 municipalities, all of which said no comment. And the amendments were also advertised in the Sunny South on March 17th and 24th. So the recommendation before you is to pass bylaw 26-005 and read it for the second and third time. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaylin. This is council's opportunity to receive input from the public. Those making presentations are asked to state their name and review their points. We ask you refrain from asking questions to council. The intention of the public hearing is not to debate or defend the contents of the bylaw or the position which individual councillors may have on the bylaw. Questions asked of a councillor by a presenter may be ruled out of order. Presentations will start with the applicant who has made the submission, followed by any other persons. After each speaker, members of council will be permitted to ask questions of the presenter to clarify any details. No debating or questions from the floor will be allowed. Each speaker will be allotted up to 10 minutes. Additional time may be granted at the discretion of council. With that, I would ask if there is anyone wishing to speak to the proposed bylaw. Again, I would ask if there is anyone wishing to speak to the proposed bylaw. And for a third and final time, I would ask if there is anyone wishing to speak to the proposed bylaw. Seeing none, I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing. Kevin? Kevin has moved to close the public hearing for bylaw 26-005. Is there any further discussion? I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Before you, you have recommendation for consideration of second and third reading. I would open up to council for any questions, discussions, and direction. Go ahead, John.
Thank you. I just have one question of administration, and I believe that I think I know the answer to this, but I just wanted to put it out there. So us passing this bylaw really doesn't make it any easier or harder for solar companies to come in and put up arrays, but I think, as I understand it, the nature of what we want to do with this bylaw is just to streamline the effort that administration needs to do should such applications come in, so it makes the paperwork easier.
Thank you, Councillor Kurbis through the Reeve. So yes, you are correct. This is an administrative update to our municipal development plan. It is not changing the process for any solar application. They will still have to apply to a rezoning and be considered by council. It's just they would be applying for a conventional district that is already wrote in our bylaw rather than us working directly with them and writing a direct control for each application. So it will streamline it from their perspective as well as administration.
Thank you.
Thank you. All that being said then, I would like to move that bylaw 26-005 be read a second time.
Thank you, John. John has moved the recommendation that bylaw 26-005 be read for a second time. Is there any discussion? Call the question.
One question of administration. I believe that I know the answer to this, but I just wanted. I really didn't need to hear myself.
If there is no further discussion, John has moved that bylaw 26-005 be read for a second time. Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Third reading. Go ahead, Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that bylaw 26-005 be read the third time.
Thank you, Tony. Tony has moved that bylaw 26-005 be read for a third time. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Moving along to our next item, item 3, bylaw 26-006. We're here today to hold the public hearing for bylaw 26-006, amendment to the land use bylaw to add solar energy commercial SEC overlay district to part 3 and to add SEC overlay district to a portion of Southwest 36-722-4, Southeast 36-722-4, Southwest 31-7-21-4, portion of Northeast 25-7-22-4, Northwest 37-21-4, Northeast 37-21-4, Southeast 31-7-24, portion of Southwest 37-21-4, and Southeast 37-21-4. I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing for bylaw 26-006. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we open the public hearing for 26-006.
Thank you, Mark. Mark has moved to open the public hearing for bylaw 26-006. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Just carried. Public hearing is being held pursuant to the Municipal Government Act as amended. The public hearing is being live streamed via the county's YouTube page. The public hearing for bylaw 26-006 is now officially open. I'll now ask for a review of the nature of the hearing and an overview of what is being proposed. Kaylin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and council. So bylaw 26-006, it is an amendment to our land use bylaw to add the solar energy commercial overlay district, as well to add the solar energy commercial district to the parcels listed by Mr. Reeve. So there is a PowerPoint I did do. Yes, perfect. So I just walking through the two different parts of the bylaw. Hopefully this will distinguish the two different decisions before you within the bylaw. So background, Lethbridge County did receive an application from New E for Lethbridge 2 and 3 as a rezoning application. We identified an opportunity to improve our own process and implement for large-scale renewable projects, and hence why you just heard bylaw 26-005. So Lethbridge County led the MDP amendment, and then we're collaboratively with the applicant on bylaw 26-006 for these land use bylaw amendments. What Schedule A is the actual text amendment to the land use bylaw. So this is adding the solar energy overlay district to Part 3, which is the section of all of our land use districts in our land use bylaw. This overlay district establishes all the development requirements that applicants for solar energy projects will be required to meet. So those are specifically the uses, the things that will be required at a development permit submission. Solar energy projects are really unique that we put a lot of conditions on development permits related to decommissioning plans, pest management, fire safety and mitigation plans. So making sure that all of those considerations for solar energy projects are consistently applied over all of our applications going forward. And so that is the overlay district, adding that into our bylaw. It is very similar to the direct controls that exist, the 3 direct controls already existing, but this is just consolidated into one district that can be used for multiple projects. And then there is some consequential amendments to Part 7 and Part 9, just to make sure there's consistency and no redundancy by us adding this part to our land use bylaw. Schedule B is the actual application by NUI to rezone the 9 properties to the solar energy overlay district. So all of the parcels are currently zoned rural agriculture. The decision before you is whether to add the solar energy commercial overlay district to the parcels. So essentially, the parcels will end up with 2 districts. The solar energy overlay district just allows them to do large-scale commercial. The benefit of this approach is if the project was not to go forward, they would still have all their rights under rural agriculture. The other perspective is if innovations occur and multi-uses can happen, they could still consider some of the rural agriculture uses in conjunction with solar, so being more flexible. So in terms of policy alignment, our municipal development plan is very supportive of considering new alternative and renewable energy projects within the county. The municipal development plan also allows county council to establish policies and regulations within our land use bylaw. The approach in which administration took does align with the county core values of continuous improvement, collaboration, results-oriented, and sustainability. In terms of the new application itself, the solar infrastructure would be assessed at a linear tax rate, and it is estimated the annual revenue will be about $1.5 million when the project is fully operational. So the recommendations and the outcome, the recommendation is to consider reading the second and third time of bylaw 26-006. Schedule A would be the consistent tool for Lethbridge County to apply regulations and requirements for large-scale commercial projects, while Schedule B would be pertinent to the Lethbridge 2 and 3 solar project to proceed towards the next project phases, as they have already achieved their Alberta Utilities Commission approved project status. That wraps up my presentation.
Thank you, Kaylin. Are there any questions at this time? This is council's opportunity to receive input from the public. Those making presentations are asked to state their name and review their points. We ask that you refrain from asking questions to council. The intention of the public hearing is not to debate or defend the contents of the bylaw or the position which individual councilors may have on the bylaw. Questions asked of a councilor by a presenter may be ruled out of order. Presentations to council will start with the applicant who has made this submission, followed by any other persons wishing to comment on the proposal. Please keep your comments to the point. After each speaker, members of council will be permitted to ask questions of the presenter to clarify any details. No debating or questions from the floor will be allowed. Each speaker will be allotted up to 10 minutes. Additional time may be granted at the discretion of council. With that, I would ask if there's anyone wishing to speak to the proposed bylaw. I would ask again if there's anyone wishing to speak to the proposed bylaw. Alex? No. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to the proposed bylaw? If there's nothing further, I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing. John?
Thank you. I would like to move to close the public hearing.
John has moved to close the public hearing for bylaw 26-006. Any further discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. With the resumption of our public meeting, before you, you have the recommendation for second and third reading of bylaw 26-006. Are there any questions, further discussion, and is there any direction? Go ahead, Lauren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just, are these properties currently under direct control? And do they have to be taken out of direct control then, or how does this work then if this is approved?
Thank you, Councillor Hickey, through the chair. So these parcels are currently zoned rural agriculture. Alberta Utilities Commission has approved the Nui Solar project for Lethbridge 2 and 3. So they are not zoned direct control for this specific project before you. In terms of the 3 existing solar energy projects, which I think you're referencing, they are direct control. Usually municipalities, when we undertake land use bylaw reviews, we review our direct controls and identify opportunities to consolidate them into conventional zones. So that hasn't been done at this time. Our existing direct controls for solar will remain, but it's definitely something we'll undertake in the future when we review our land use bylaw.
Any other questions? How would you like to proceed? Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd move that bylaw 26-006 be read a second time.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin has moved that bylaw 26-006 be read for a second time. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Those opposed? That's carried. And third reading. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the third reading, the bylaw 26-006 be read a third time.
Thank you, Mark. Mark has moved that bylaw 26-006 be read for a third time. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you, Kaylin. Thank you, Council. Move down. Item 4, bylaw 26-008, advertising and public notification. We are here today to hold a public hearing for bylaw 26-008, advertising and public notification. I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing. John. John has moved to open the public, sorry.
No, go ahead.
John has moved to open the public hearing for bylaw 26-008. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. This public hearing is being held pursuant to the Municipal Government Act as amended. The public hearing is being live streamed via the county's YouTube page. The public hearing for bylaw 26-008 is now officially open. I'll now ask for a review of the nature of the hearing and an overview of what is being proposed. Trevor, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Council. So following first reading of bylaw 26-008 at the February 19th meeting of Council, this public hearing was advertised in 2 consecutive weeks of the Sunny South News on the 17th and the 24th of March. Additionally, it was advertised on our social media channels. And Ms. Jean, who's in the gallery today, actually did a front page story on the proposed bylaws as well. So, a great deal of public notification was provided pursuant to 606 subsection 1 and 3 of the Municipal Government Act. Consequently, as a result of that, we received 4 emailed submissions. All 4 submissions are in your package for your review, And there was one additional person that registered to speak virtually today, and we'll see if that proceeds. So at its core, the decision before council today is not simply about advertising channels or subscription costs. Rather, it's more of a philosophical one about how Lethbridge County communicates with the people it serves and whether the tools we use reflect both our identity and our direction. So Lethbridge County has positioned itself as the most innovative agricultural community in Canada. That vision demands the county lead, not lag, in how it connects with residents. The question is not whether local print journalism has value in the abstract, as it may well have value to those that choose to use it. The question rather is whether $60,000 of ratepayer funds spent annually on a single print format represents the best use of that investment. Whether that format reflects the majority of council residents who actually seek and receive information, and whether the county's communications strategy serves the full breadth of its community. So critically, nothing in the proposed bylaw or policy change would affect any resident from choosing to subscribe to the Sunny South News on their own. So this is not about eliminating local journalism. It's simply a deliberate choice on how public funds are spent and through which channels the county communicates. So the remainder of the written report contains some information responding to the written submissions, but the recommendation from administration remains the same. Namely, one, that you proceed with second and third readings of Bylaw 26-008, the Advertising and Public Notification Bylaw, which would repeal Bylaw 23-013. Second, that you would repeal Policy 106, effective December 31st, 2026. And third, that you would direct administration to implement a phased resident communication plan through the remainder of the year to promote awareness and transition to primarily digital communication channels that the county provides.
Thank you, Trevor. This is council's opportunity to receive input from the public. Those making presentations are asked to state their name and review their points. We ask that you refrain from asking questions to council. The intention of the public hearing is not to debate or defend the contents of the bylaw or the position which individual councillors may have on the bylaw. Questions asked of the councillor by a presenter may be ruled out of order. Presentations to council will start with the applicant who has made a submission, followed by any other persons wishing to comment on the proposal. Please keep your comments to the point. After each speaker, members of council will be permitted to ask questions of the presenter to clarify any details. No debating or questions from the floor will be allowed. Each speaker will be allotted up to 10 minutes. Additional time may be granted at the discretion of council. With that, I would open up the floor if there is anyone wishing to speak to the proposed bylaw. Candace, go ahead. Okay. Did you want to share that with us, Candace, maybe then?
Sure. It just says in defense of retaining investment unless and mass subscription by the county, QR access to county information does not cut it from me or my age. Holding the paper in my hands is when necessary and when article suits me best. The local weekly covers the ads for many county businesses, the ratepayers have easy access because they get paper in the mailboxes. No codes or
Candace. I would ask if there is anyone wishing to speak to the proposed bylaw. I would ask for a third and final time if there is anyone wishing to speak to the proposed bylaw. If there is nothing further, I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing. Mark?
Mr. Chair, I move to close the public hearing.
Mark is moved to close the public hearing for bylaw 26-008. Is there any further discussion? I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Resume our public meeting. And as has been noted, there is a recommendation before you. I would open up to council for any other questions or further discussion. Coylor.
Thank you. I guess in talking to quite a few people now, I have received opposition to the fact that they will not be getting the paper anymore and have asked me not to support this, and I can see their point of view, so I would not support eliminating the newspaper. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. I want to know, we're not eliminating the newspaper, correct? Like,
No.
right? Okay. I know that, I think that has been some of the, you can see it in the comments that we have. I do think there is a bit of misunderstanding as to what's happening. There is still very much an opportunity for people to purchase a subscription and receive the paper. So I just want to be crystal clear about that. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'd just like to follow up on that to the point that we're not, if people want to subscribe and get the paper themselves, I mean, I'd be happy to do that myself. I get it in my mailbox, so nothing would change for me other than the fact that I'd be paying for my subscription. And I've had calls too from people that have been the opposite. What Lauren's comments have been, they're fine with it and understand why it is, but it's not. Again, I think it's the communication piece. People are in the confusion. It's not getting rid of the paper, it's just allowing, taking it away from the expense from the county because of the data that we've collected around the use and the actual number of people that actually read the paper. So to those folks out there that still use it and read it, I do. I'm quite happy to pay for my subscription and do that. So that's option. That just needs to be clarified because that's one of the pieces that's been floating around up there that's been creating a bit of concern and issues. So anyway, I would support this. So having said that, I would move that we proceed with second reading.
Thank you, Mark. Is there any further comments, discussion? Eric, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just on that clarity side of things, just so that we have a second layer of that, we still plan on putting some form of notices in the paper on developments or any of that, or is that all planning to go completely online? What is our future interaction potentially look like?
Thank you, through the chair, to Councillor Van Essen. The plan was, as proposed, is to use the remainder of the year to educate residents on other options, including the various digital channels that we have, and that we would move principally to digital delivery beginning January of next year. That does not preclude us from using print ads. There are some things in the Municipal Government Act, for example, that still require print advertising, franchise fees mainly being one of them, because that's an AUC requirement as opposed to an MGA requirement. But everything else would principally move to digital communication beginning in January.
Thank you. So I got some comments to council, one way up or down. It's up to you how you interpret it. But in our comments, we said as being, we are innovative, most innovative county. But does innovation limit using print, or does it mean we're working towards the future? We've expanded our print in-house. Our magazines have been growing and to a positive reception. How do we balance that against our other commentary? The end of me. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think if I recall from the first start of these conversations in terms of dealing with the advertising and public notification bylaw, the larger question here is just in terms of streamlining our planning and development office, in the sense of, because there is a current requirement on there that we advertise in the print, and the only print is the Sunny South News, that it puts a bottleneck on a weekly basis of our planning department approving all of any of the development permits that go out, because there has to be that timeline in the weekly notice. And moving towards more of a digital, these are what's available, here's where it's at, as well as notification of the neighbors, and that is not changing from what I understand with administration. I'm seeing nods from them on that. I support this bylaw simply because we are in a situation where we're getting busier, where, you know, the expectation of people that are providing development permits, that we do it in as timely a manner as possible. And, you know, I think it's critical that we make sure that we look at ways to make sure our administration is as efficient as possible. You know, I think this is less about the money spent about the Sunny South and more about the resources that we're trying to maximize internally with administration.
Thank you, John. Any other comments? Mark has moved to second reading of bylaw 26-008. Is there any further discussion? I will call the question. Those in favor? Those opposed? That is carried. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move that a third reading of bylaw 26-008.
Thank you, John. John has moved to third reading of bylaw 26-008. Is there any further discussion? I guess I would share maybe just a brief thought. I did not receive any feedback on this. I received zero feedback. I was shocked a little bit. I thought I would, but I personally didn't. Read through the comments that were provided to us, and I still think there's a bit of a misunderstanding of the direction that's been proposed to council here by administration. I would agree with the commentary from administration. You know, I think things change, times change, and I think we have to find a way to move along with that. And I don't feel, in my opinion, that what's being proposed here is an indictment of print media. I think it's much larger than that. It's what the print media is, how it fits into the bigger picture of advertising, what we want to advertise, how we want to advertise it, how accurately we want to advertise it. I think we have an amazing opportunity at the county with an amazing team here to share with the world what we're doing here at Lethbridge County in a variety of different ways, whether that's through print, through online, through billboards, which I'm sure some of you have seen go up recently. We have opportunities to share the message, and we have an ability to share it in a crystal clear way that really speaks to what the message is. There's no ambiguity, there's no misinformation as to what is and what isn't. I think that is a tremendous opportunity that I find we are fighting as the world changes around us. We continue to fight misinformation and bad information. So if we can find a way to try and combat that, I fully support it. I think we have a tremendous brand here at the county, and I think that our team here has done a tremendous job of sharing what we have to share through that brand and through that vision. So I do support this. I fully understand some people's concerns and the frustrations over this. You know, I remember being 9 or 10 years old and being on the cover of the Sunny South, and it was a big deal. And I think it was what it was at the time. But I think now when I see myself on the front page of the Sunny South in this role, I'm usually misquoted or misrepresented, and I think that's extremely disappointing. And I'm not trying to sling mud here. I'm just trying to say that it is what it is, and we have to see it for what it is. And if we can somehow share a message in a way that represents what we are and what we're trying to do, I fully support that. So, again, acknowledging that I know this will be hard for some people. I know that there's a bridge of technology that's not quite there for everyone yet, and it might not be. But I think we have to the one comment in the comments was, you know, maybe we could wait a year longer, or wait a year longer. I said, we are just pushing the inevitable further down the line. So I do think I think it could be viewed as bold, it could be aggressive, but I would fully support this. So those are just my thoughts, and appreciate the discussion. I appreciate the position of council. I appreciate that what you've heard and what you feel is different than what I do, and I support that. But I have to support the bylaw as it's proposed. Is there any further questions or further discussion? John has moved third reading of bylaw 26-008. I'll call the question. Those in favor? Those opposed? That is carried. Thank you. And I believe,
Do we need to rescind?
yeah, administratively, so then we'll move to the rescind. Okay, I would entertain a motion to rescind policy 106 effective December 31st, 2026. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd move that we rescind policy 106 effective December 31st, 2026.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin's moved move for the rescindment of policy 106 effective December 31st, 2026. Is there any further discussion? I will call a question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried.
Do we need to do that by motion, number 3?
Yeah. Do you need a motion for that third one too then, Trevor, or how would you like to proceed? Okay, John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move to direct administration to implement a phased resident communication plan through the remainder of 2026 to promote awareness of and the transition primarily to the county's digital communication channel.
Thank you, John. John has moved to direct administration to implement a phased resident communication plan through the remainder of 2026 to promote awareness of and transition primarily to the county's digital communication channels. Is there any discussion? Call question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you, everyone. That takes us to 10:48. Why don't we take a short 10-minute break, and we will return for the remainder of our public We'll call the meeting back to order at 11 o'clock this morning. Moving our agendas to department reports, item G, G1, Development and Infrastructure, G1.1, Bylaw 26-007, Amendment to the Land Use Bylaw to redesignate Plan 9312354, Block 1, Lot 1 within Northwest 24922 West 4, from urban fringe to grouped country residential. Kaylin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Council. So before you today is Bylaw 26-007, an amendment to the land use bylaw specifically to redesignate Plan 9312354, Block 1, Lot 1, from the current urban fringe to group country residential. So this parcel is, there's the map. Located directly northwest of the city, adjacent to some coulee land. There is some other residential development occurring in the area. The proposal, if I scroll down. Oh, and this plan is crooked, sorry. So there's 3 lots that are being proposed. Let's zoom out here. Here you go, 3 lots. So over here, the government road allowance is north. 3 lots being proposed by the proponent, them ranging in 3 to 4.3 acres in size. It's 3 contiguous group country residential lots. The parcels are located on a previous asphalt production facility that has been removed and reclaimed. There was a Phase 1 ESA submitted with the proposed residential use. There is a historical resource value of 5A, so that will be addressed during the subdivision phase. And the 3 future parcels will have hauled water to the site and will be serviced by on-site septic systems. It is important to know that the applicant has expressed interest in developing all 3 lots within the first years of subdividing, one of which already has a development permit application being reviewed by the team. In terms of alignment with our municipal development plan, the parcels align with the group country residential subdivision requirements and lot size. The group country residential strategy currently supports cut-off fragmented parcels to be used for this use, which this parcel is directly adjacent to the coulee and the surrounding residential occurring. It does meet that qualification. And prior to being considered for subdivision, it must be considered for rezoning because it's 3 contiguous lots. Before you today is a recommendation to consider the first reading of Bylaw 26-007, and this will allow council to proceed with the public hearing and notification process.
Thank you, Kaylin. I'll open up to council for any questions. John.
Well, just one question. I was confused by the urban fringe classification of this particular property because of its location, and I appreciate that it's close to the city, but it's on the other side of the river, and everything on this side of the river is the county, so maybe you could elaborate on that a little bit.
Thank you, Councillor Kurbis, through the chair. So this specific parcel is actually in the City of Lethbridge IDP area as well as the Town of Colehurst IDP area. So it is in both referral areas, and both were referred and had no comment. So that is why the parcel is zoned urban fringe.
Perfect, thank you. And all that being said, I would like to move that Bylaw 26-007 be read a first time.
Thank you, John. John has moved the recommendation that Bylaw 26-007 be read for a first time. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you, Kaylin. Moving down, item H, correspondence. We have 3 pieces of correspondence before us this morning. First, the centennial celebration for the town of Pitt Tribute. There's a commemorative plaque unveiling, 11 a.m. on Wednesday, April 15th, 2026, in front of the Pitt Tribute Town Office. I know several members of council have received invitations through various channels, but if you are interested in attending, please consider doing so. Our second piece of correspondence is a letter from a resident. I will read the letter. Subject to letter, concern regarding road maintenance and dust control on Range Road 210. Dear Reeve and council members, I'm writing you today as a concerned resident of the County of Lethbridge, Range Road 210. My concern is the dust control on Range Road 210 coming off of Highway 4. Going north, we are on a major haul route. The signs on the road clearly are there. The dust has been terrible, affecting our animals' health, increased pneumonia in many of our purebred and commercial herd, which affect the well-being of our herd and increased our veterinary costs. Our personal health and well-being, we cannot sit outside without a cloud of dust blowing over us inside our homes. You also notice a constant layer of dust. The haul route has a calcium base in the past, and it no longer is that way. It is now a gravel road, which is very busy. Vehicles are going to ranch docks starting at 7 a.m. Semis are going to Perlich and back to Highway 4. Trucks are coming from the Broxburn Business Park. The gravel trucks and other traffic going to and from Southern Excavating also goes on all throughout the day and has impacted our air quality. As a taxpayer, I'm requesting on behalf of my company, Lunenburg Farms and Lunenburg Angus, that fellow community members, the county resolve this issue and take care of its roads. The best solution would be able to pave the road from Highway 4 to the Brown Road or all the way to Highway 512. Another option would be to recalcify the road to its previous condition. Thank you for your time and dedication to our county, and I look forward to your response on this matter and hope to see a positive resolution for our community. The reason this was addressed to Reeve Council, so that's why it was included as part of our correspondence. Cole, do you want to maybe speak to it?
Yeah, Ryan and I have discussed, and I'll defer to him, and he can clarify. This road still receives treatment. It's just on the P1, P2 schedule, and so I believe it's slated for this summer, and maybe I would defer to Ryan to just provide an update on that and maybe clarify for the public what the difference is on those treatments. And then if there's further questions around paving and local improvement tax, I mean, we can always flag that with the resident as well. Are you okay with that, Ryan?
Okay, thank you, Chair Reeve. In response to this particular section of road, the resident is correct. This is designated haul route, is a P2 haul route. And so our treatment activities for P2 haul routes is we do the MG30 base stabilization treatment every other year. And 2025 was an off year for this specific section of road. So this road will receive treatment. It's currently scheduled for the middle of July, pending weather, to receive that treatment. So for all P2 roads that don't receive treatment in the off cycle, we do a water grade pack as well as other regular grading activities to maintain a safe, reliable road.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the P1, they get done every year? Like they get a top up every year, but the P2s is every other year then with the MG30?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but just, I know the common response is to pay roads. Just for a rough idea, either Ryan or Devin, can you maybe just ballpark what a rough cost on that? If you did not have to do substantial base work, what paving, say a mile or county road would look like, just from an, not holding you too specific, but an estimate?
I would say approximately $2 million to $2.5 million per mile for pavement.
And roughly how many roads of gravel road do we have in the county, roughly?
Oh, I think we're 1,800 kilometers, somewhere in that realm. I could verify that, but about there.
Thank you. Lauren, Jim? Go ahead.
I was just wondering, would this road maybe in the future be one that we could do cement stabilization on? It is a fairly well-used road.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair to Councillor Hickey. I think that right now the team is looking at a variety of options for council, from the deep injection stabilization, cement stabilization, and those costs. We don't have a framework outlined as to what that would be or where to go. I mean, anything's possible with council's direction on that. Part of our challenge is, of those 1,800 kilometers of gravel roadway, what are the defining factors that are defensible and not anecdotal? We have a lot of heavy haul traffic, a lot of intensity all over. So which ones get priority? How do we assess that? You know, the team's done a great job with the information we have, but some of the investment that the county's making right now is, like in this year's budget was the armadillos for traffic counts. We're looking to continue to layer in more data, which will help us make more of those decisions for where we invest and what roadways receive what treatment.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess what I'm hearing then, the long and the short of it is that, you know, we appreciate these letters coming from our ratepayers because it gives us a bit of a snapshot of what's happening. And if they have a concern, that it certainly is good that we hear about it. But from an administrative standpoint, you guys are aware of it and are looking and working with this individual as well as many others as to try to find the most economic solutions for them. Would that be a safe thing to say for administration?
Yeah, absolutely. We get inquiries like this all the time, and this one happened to come forward because it was directed to council, so we haven't followed up on it yet. We wanted to give the opportunity for it to be brought forward, but typically how we would rectify this or resolve it is somebody from operations would reach out to the resident and can update them on the P1, P2 schedule, provide them the different avenues. You know, if both them and their neighbors wish to explore pavement, what an LIT process is, we can give them the schedule for when it's slated to receive treatment for this year. If there's other opportunities to pay for additional dust control or anything in the meantime, whatever avenues there are, the team will just work directly with them to give them those different levers that they can access and what's on the books. And if it continues to be an issue, can get escalated from there. But
Anything else? Thank you, everyone. Item 3, South Grow March Report. So before you, attached in your agendas is the March Report from South Grow. I won't go over the report in its entirety. Yeah, shucks. It's there for you when time allows. I'd encourage you to give it a look and see what South Grow is up to. Moving down, council and committee updates. Item I1. We'll start in Division 1. Councilor Lauren Hickey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So on February the 5th, we had Lethbridge County Council meeting. Same day, we had the land use bylaw workshop, which we talked about earlier today. And on the 17th, they had Green Acres Executive and Finance meeting. And the 19th, we had County Council meeting. And the 25th was Green Acres Board meeting.
Thank you, Lauren. Division 2, February 5th, County Council, as well the 5th, Land Use Bylaw workshop. The 6th, attended a ministerial meet and greet at the University of Lethbridge with the Minister of Advanced Education. The 18th, attended the EDL board meeting virtually. 21st, the Southern Alberta Chinese Association's Year of the Horse Spring Festival. The 23rd, we toured the town of Coldell's Water Reservoir. And on the 26th, attended the Creative Activities Plan launch for the University of Lethbridge. Division 3, Councillor Sayers. Mark.
Thank you, Reeve Campbell. February 4th, Link Pathway meeting. We continue work with the board there. We've made proposed some amendments to the MOU, and that's currently sitting with them to get back to us and go over with the board. February 4th, again, FCSS board meeting. 5th, the Lethbridge County Council, and again on the 5th was the land use workshop, bylaw workshop, and the 19th County Council meeting.
Thank you, Mark. Division 4, Deputy Reeve Curvis. John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On February 3rd, I had my weekly meeting with the Community Futures Executive Director. On February 5th, Lethbridge County Council meeting, as well as the Land Use Bylaw Workshop. February 10th and 17th, I had my weekly meeting with Community Futures Executive Director. February 19th, our council meeting. On February 23rd, I attended the water reservoir tour for the town of Coaldale. And February 25th, and a meeting with Prairie Scan. And as well on the 25th, we had our Community Futures regular monthly board meeting.
Thank you, John. Division 5, Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. February 5 was the Lethbridge County Council meeting, and then after that was the land use bylaw workshop. February 9, I met with our Director of Growth and Engagement, Trevor Lewington, and chatted about some strategic planning. February 11 was the Library System Board orientation, and that was done on Teams. And then February 19 was the Lethbridge County Council meeting.
Thank you, Kevin. Division 6, Councillor Van Essen. Eric.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The 5th County Council meeting and the land use bylaw. 13th, meeting with Director of Growth and Engagement, Trevor Lewington, did a road trip tour through the division, see what's on my radar, and the 19th, County Council meeting.
Thank you, Eric. And Division 7, Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Counselor. On February 5th, we had the Lethbridge County Council meeting, also the Land Use Bylaw Workshop. On the 19th, also Lethbridge County Council meeting. On the 21st, the SACA Spring Festival. On February 23rd, the Water Reservoir Tour, Town of Coaldale. And February 28th was the Turn Community Pancake Breakfast meet and greet there.
Thank you, Tony. Anything else on the updates? If not, I believe that takes us to the end of the public portion of our meeting. Take us down to Section K, closed session, and we have 3 items for closed session. Item 1, land disposition, ATIA Section 30. Number 2, land disposition, ATIA Section 30. And number 3, CAO report, ATIA Section 19, 20, 28, and 29. If there's nothing further for our public meeting, I would entertain a motion to enter a closed session. John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we move towards a closed session.
Thank you, John. John has moved to enter a closed session at 11:16 this morning. Any discussion? Call the question. Those session at 12:14. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Our first item, closed session item 1, land disposition.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd move to accept the highest offer for Plan 6481 DI Block 1, Lot 7.
Thank you, Kevin. Is there any discussion? Not, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And land disposition item 2. Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move that council approve the sale of Plan IRR 146, Block RW, Lot 8, for the offered purchase price.
Thank you, Eric. Is there any further discussion? I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Is there anything further?
Adjournment.
Eric has moved to adjourn at 12:15. Thank you, everyone.